The universe has something essential to reveal to you today. This message does not come directly, nor with immediate promises, but carries a subtle invitation to a deeper understanding of something that has been troubling you for some time. The separation of someone who was or still is very important to you. What seems like a random silence hides a storm that this person was unable to name. There is a distance that has lasted longer than expected. Perhaps you felt at first that this pause was temporary, a necessary space for the other person to organize their feelings. She may have even said that she needed time, clarity, breathing space. And you, with all the patience that only true love sustains, respected, waited, and trusted that this time would bring answers. But time passed and the feeling that something had changed remained. That presence that, even though distant, still seemed close, was becoming strange, different. The energy that once flowed is now blocked. You notice that something is not in place. It's not just the silence, it's the absence of the connection that existed until then. And inside you a silent question begins to arise. Is there still an us? The universe shows you that on the other side the situation is more confusing than you imagine. Those who walked away did not find the peace they were looking for. On the contrary, they discovered a growing emotional chaos, an unexpected emptiness. The initial idea was simple: take a step back, breathe, organize your mind. But the effect was the opposite. Instead of clarity, incessant thoughts arose. Instead of relief came frustration. This person, since they distanced themselves, hasn't been able to get you out of their head. He tried to occupy his mind with distractions, commitments, people, but nothing was enough because his energy did not disappear. On the contrary, it intensified. What was supposed to be a time of rebalancing turned into a deep dive into emotions that she didn't know how to deal with. And that's what makes her so lost. Now, the truth is that this person is scared of what they feel. Maybe you've never experienced anything so strong before. The connection between you provoked something she couldn't name, a mixture of attraction, fear, and vulnerability. She wanted to step away to understand, but she understood that the distance only made her certainty grow that you are present in everything. And this feeling is accompanied by something more, a discomfort in realizing that you may be moving on with your life, that you may have changed focus, that you may no longer be waiting. Then comes insecurity, jealousy, and the fear of losing you forever. This emotional instability causes the person to oscillate between anger, sadness, and longing. One day he thinks of you fondly, the next he blames himself for leaving you. Everyone misses you. There's an internal struggle going on there. On one side, pride, fear, the need to appear strong. On the other, unresolved love, the desire to make amends, the memory of who you are and what you meant in her life. The universe is using this moment of silence to show that there are things that cannot be avoided. And one of them is this connection. This person starts to question themselves. They want to understand what you are going through now. If you still think about them, if they could forgive you for that thoughtless decision that ended up driving you apart. She realizes that she played a fundamental role in what happened, and this touches her deeply. It's no longer about guilt, but about responsibility. She knows it takes courage to undo what she's done. And this courage is gradually being awakened. This is just the first layer of this story that the universe wants you to understand. The silence that bothers you is, in fact, the beginning of a new cycle. Because when everything seems to stand still, that's when transformation begins. After so much time in silence, there is a restlessness taking over this person's heart. An urgency that she can no longer hide. That choice that seemed sensible at the time, the distancing, the pause, the need for some time, now turns out to be hasty, and that is weighing on us. The universe is making her face the truth head-on. You didn't leave her mind for even a moment. She thought she needed space to breathe. She wanted time to understand what I felt, to find out if it was real or just confusion. But instead of clarity, he found a maze. Every attempt to move further away only pushed him back towards you, because even in the silence, you remained present. And not just as a memory, as energy, as a living feeling, as something that refuses to disappear. You noticed her silent presence start to cause discomfort, as she realized that even without you saying anything, your absence was more present than anything else in her life. She started to feel jealous and wonder if you were meeting other people, if you had redirected your attention, if you were moving on. These questions began to echo constantly, shaking everything she thought she had under control. Why can't I forget you, is the question that repeats itself most in her mind, a doubt that mixes with a feeling of growing frustration. She finds herself lost in thoughts that go from one extreme to the other, anger for having walked away, fear of no longer being welcome, hope for a new beginning, and shame for not knowing how to return. You, in turn, had to deal with the weight of this absence, and even with all your strength, you also felt the emptiness. Still, you chose to wait, perhaps not for words, but for a sign, a gesture, something that would confirm that this connection was not just yours. And now the universe begins to show that it wasn't. This person is in conflict. They realize that the decision they made was based on fear and not truth. She didn't want to push you away forever, she wanted to understand herself better, but in the process, she lost control of the situation, and now she's afraid of how you see all of this. Do you still feel the same? Is there room for a new beginning? The question that runs through her mind is not just whether you would forgive her, it is whether there is still time, whether it is possible to undo what was done, whether your connection is strong enough to survive this distance, this silence, this mistake. And what worries her most is knowing that she might only find out if she has the courage to get closer again. This courage, however, is still under construction. She knows she needs to take the initiative, that there is no longer any way to wait for you to do it for her. It's her responsibility now. But the fear of being rejected, of finding closed doors, of seeing a different look in your eyes, all of this weighs heavily. And the universe, wisely, is letting her feel that weight, because that's what will make her move. At the same time, this person deeply desires your understanding. She wants to tell you that it wasn't about you. It was about her own insecurities, about the fear of diving into something so real, about dealing with feelings she had never experienced before. She feels like she failed, yes, but she also feels like she learned. And that's when regret turns into desire, into impulse, into a wish to do things differently. The thoughtless decision that took her away from you has now become the motivation to try to rebuild, even if it hurts, even if it is difficult, because the feeling has not disappeared. On the contrary, it has grown stronger. This is the truth that is unfolding, and the universe is just waiting for the moment when she will be able to acknowledge it before you. There are times when what has been held back for so long begins to overflow. And that's exactly where the transformation happens. The person who moved away from you, who sought control over what they felt, now finds themselves at a point where they can no longer hold back what comes from within. Her heart is starting to speak louder, and for the first time, she is really listening. It's hard for her to admit, but her decision to walk away was an ill-conceived attempt to protect herself. The connection with you was and still is too intense, too strong, too true. And all of this scared her. The impulse to retreat came from fear, not indifference. It was as if she was saying to herself, I need to understand what this is before I lose myself completely. The problem is that by trying to protect herself from you, she ended up moving away from the only thing that really made sense. And this realization is painful, because now everything she sees in her daily life carries a bit of your memory, a song, a phrase, a coincidence that only seems to make sense because of you. Every detail that previously went unnoticed now seems to whisper your name. She finds herself reflecting on what could have been done differently, on what would have happened if she had chosen to stay, if she had trusted more, if she had said what she felt instead of hiding it. This "what if" accompanies her in silence, and the universe is using these questions as a bridge to take her to a new understanding. Your person is starting to realize that it's not just about missing you anymore. It's more than that. It is the awareness that there is an unfinished story between you, a story that didn't end with the separation, because it didn't even have the chance to fully blossom. And now the desire to return to this path grows every day. The fear, of course, is still there, but something has changed. The fear of rejection no longer dominates. Now, the desire to fix things, to try again, begins to outweigh that fear. This is a clear sign that this person is emerging from emotional paralysis and starting to move. Soon, this will translate into action. Before taking that step, however, she is undergoing a very deep internal process, a reunion with parts of herself that were ignored or repressed. Your connection made her see things no one else could, and this transformed her. Even from afar, you remained a mirror, a compass, a reference. That's why she feels such a need to reconnect, because now she understands that it's not just about reviving something old, but about building something new, with more maturity and truth. For that, she is preparing herself, rethinking everything she experienced with you, every gesture, every word, every silence. More than that, she is recognizing her own mistake, which is rare. There's a growing uneasiness every day, a feeling that if she doesn't act soon, she might lose her chance to redeem herself. And the universe, always attentive, is sending signals, offering opportunities, creating subtle openings for this reunion to happen. But everything will depend on her willingness to face vulnerability. She's wondering every day if you still feel the same, if there's still room in your heart, if it's still possible to start over. These questions are not just curiosity, they are a silent request for reconciliation. Even without knowing if she will find open doors, she feels she needs to try. She needs to at least show you that she hasn't forgotten, that she didn't leave you for lack of love, but for fear. And now fear is losing ground to truth, because there are feelings that cannot be erased. There are connections that, even in silence, continue to cry out for a new chance. What is happening now within her is an emotional awakening she did not expect to experience. The universe is causing everything that has been postponed, avoided, or ignored to come to the surface all at once. It's as if she suddenly finds herself in front of a mirror that shows her everything she had chosen not to look at, including the feelings she still carries for you. There's an important detail at this point: the feeling did not diminish with time. It has matured and gained clearer, more solid contours. With that, she is realizing that it is no longer about imagining what it would have been like. Now she wants to find out what else it can be. And that difference changes everything. She begins to think about the reunion, not just as a possibility, but as something necessary. She needs to feel your presence again, hear your voice, see up close if what she always felt still vibrates between you. Within this need, there is a conflict. How to get closer after so much silence? How do you explain what happened without it sounding like an excuse? This doubt accompanies her, but the desire to repair, to rebuild, to try again, begins to weigh more than the fear of rejection. This doesn't mean she has all the answers, it means she is now willing to look for them by your side and no longer alone. She mentally rehearses conversations with you. She thinks about what she would say, what she would explain, what she would need to hear from you to understand if there is still room to move forward. In many of these thoughts, what repeats most silently is, "Would you still forgive me?" Because deep down she knows that the way she pulled away may have hurt, that the prolonged time without a response may have made you question the value of that connection, and that scares her. It scares her because even though silence was her choice, it never meant indifference. It was fear, confusion, self-protection, but never an absence of feeling. This process of recognizing her own mistakes is being deeply transformative for her. The universe is guiding this person toward a path of truth with themselves. It is making her understand that truly loving also involves responsibility, that it is not enough to feel, it is necessary to care, communicate, be present. And that is why repentance came with learning. She doesn't just want to apologize, she wants to show that she has changed, that she understands, that she is ready to act differently, if you are still available for this rebuild. At this moment, she is watching you even from afar. Maybe she doesn't say it, but she's aware of the signs. She wants to understand if there is space, if you are open, if your heart still beats for this story. Your every gesture, every word, every silence is analyzed as if it were a clue. She wants to come back, but she needs to be sure she will be welcomed. The universe, in turn, is opening the way for this reunion to happen. The universe is gently guiding you both closer, aligning circumstances and emotions, because it knows a true reunion happens only when both individuals are ready. The time you spent apart was not wasted, it was a period of growth, healing, and recognition. This painful journey can now be fertile ground for a new phase between you, one with more listening, dedication, and presence. This person knows the next step needs to come from them. Even without knowing exactly how, they no longer want to wait. When a feeling is true, letting an opportunity pass is like losing twice, and they understand that now. The moment is approaching when unspoken words will begin to emerge, words that carry truth, vulnerability, and a sincere desire to start over. We've reached the point where silence can no longer hide what the heart has been trying to express. After so much internal turmoil, so many unanswered thoughts, this person has reached an inevitable conclusion. They can no longer pretend this connection doesn't matter. The universe led them step by step to this understanding, and now everything within them points in your direction. The separation revealed much more than absence. It revealed a deep connection that existed from the beginning, difficult to name, but impossible to ignore. This person, by distancing themselves, thought they would find relief, that they could move forward, that distance would be a path to reorganization. But it was exactly the opposite. The silence only showed how essential you are. Today, she looks back and sees clearly that she made a decision based on escape, not on truth. She wanted time, yes, but she didn't know that time away from you would bring more longing than clarity, more confusion than healing. And now, the desire to make amends for all this is stronger than any fear. She thinks of you intensely, not as an idealization, but as someone real with whom she wants to experience something different, something more conscious, more honest, more mature. She understands that it is not enough to just go back. She needs to return transformed, with the willingness to truly give herself, to talk, listen, understand, and to rebuild, if you still allow it. This reconstruction for her begins with a gesture, a request for forgiveness, a sincere attempt to approach without masks, without excuses, because it is no longer about justifying the past, but about positioning herself in the present with truth. The universe prepared you for this, and you, even without realizing it, were the reference for this process. It was your energy that remained, it was your absence that illuminated how indispensable your presence was. This person wonders if you are open, if there is still room to try, if this connection has stood the test of time. And although she doesn't have all the answers, what moves her most now is the courage to find out. She no longer wants to imagine, she wants to know, feel, live. And the most beautiful thing about all this is that she understands that the reunion doesn't need to be immediate or perfect, it needs to be real. You need to start where you are now, with what you have, in whatever way possible. The important thing is not to let this second chance that the universe is offering pass you by, because this type of connection does not happen by chance. She chooses, and you are chosen. The doubt that has held her steps back for so long is losing strength. In its place, a certainty is born: you are too important to be left behind. The connection that exists between you doesn't need promises, it needs presence. And that's what she wants to offer now. The decision to return does not come just from desire, it comes from the soul. And when the soul decides, the universe acts, opens paths, brings signs, brings hearts closer together. And that's what's happening now, even though everything still seems silent. If you feel that this message resonates with you, then know that a reunion is taking place, a new beginning being drawn in the invisible, loaded with sincere intentions, deep recognition, and the real desire to make it work. Some connections don't need guarantees, they just need the courage to start over.